Welcome to the second episode of NUKG 24/7's artist interview series. I must apologise in advance, I'm a bit hoarse, I'm losing my voice over here, so you're going to have to bear with me today, but to be honest, no one's here to listen to me anyway. Everyone wants to hear the thoughts of the man sat in front of me. That is a shining light of NUKG, Mr. Two-Step himself, Nine2 Recordings head honcho, and a man who holds the distinction of being the only person to guest on DJ EZ's New Volve radio show, Mr. BWK Project. Welcome, sir.
Yes, Rob, how you doing, mate? All good? All good. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this.
Pleasure.
Having a natter.
Yeah, it's been a while. It'll be good to catch up, mate. So
yeah, it has, mate. It has.
Keep keeping busy.
Yeah, it has, definitely.
The work rate, mate, has always been, that's one of the things. When I think of UK projects, it's always like work rate, like it's consistent. And I've always rated you have like a real positive, can-do approach to it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's easy as an artist to kind of get caught up, and I'm terrible for it. It's easy to get kind of caught up in like getting bogged down with, I'm not getting the support I think, and I never get that. You're always just like head down, moving forward, here's the next one, and I've got a lot of time for that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, mate. It's just, I just love making garage music, and that's just where it's at. And I just love getting in the studio, creating new beats, just getting on with it, mate. And sometimes you just got to ignore what everyone else is doing and just concentrate on your own lane. And yeah, support comes. If support comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As long as you're happy making the music, that's what matters to me.
Oh, that's a great attitude to have.
Yeah, that's what happens to me.
Do you know what leads perfectly to my first question, which was, why UKG? What is it about the genre that kind of reeled you in?
Oh, mate, so I've been listening to garage for, God knows, mate, I'm 39 now, so I've been listening to garage for over 20 years, back in the early 2000s and stuff. I just love the sound, the whole culture behind UK garage. I just love everything about it. And, to be fair, I used to listen to jungle, drum and bass, like everyone did when I was younger. I listened to garage. And then kind of like got a cracked copy of Reason when I was about 17, 18, off my mate at college, because he was doing music production at college. And that's what didn't you do that? You do college? Yeah, and they used to use Reason, didn't they? Yeah. So he gave me a cracked copy of that. And I did actually start making like jungle, drum and bass, trying to get that sound down. Never thought I'd be able to crack the two-step vibes. Like, just couldn't. I don't think the technology was really there back for me anyway when I was using Reason. And then kind of like I've always listened to it, always had that in the background. Kind of went on to like making house music with a few friends. Got to shout these ones out: Cookie and Nico, old pals of mine. We used to do a lot of house music together. And when I kind of used to get into the studio to make house music, I always had like garage in the background, like kind of the shuffle vibes, like the vocal chops and everything like that. And then like it was probably 2018, 2019, I kind of stopped making the house music, kind of stopped making music altogether then. And then just decided to, you know what, I need to get back onto making something. I'd love to make some garage again, because I've done a few little bits and pieces over the years, but nothing special, don't get me wrong. And then I think the lockdowns and all that really played a massive part in it, because it gave everyone time to just reset and just get into something like a project. And this was a project that I wanted to do, hence why I called it BWK Project. It's like a garage thing. Started making garage again, sent a few bits out and stuff, and then EZ picked up a few bits of mine. Matt Jamlamont picked up a few bits. When he used to do his Rinse show. I think he used to do Rinse FM, didn't he? And then what did I do then? Yeah, I got a tune over with Impact, DJ Impact. Yeah. Over on Flex FM, Highly Swung Records. Yeah, big up Impact. I think he gave me my first bootleg that I put out. And just kind of roll from there. And then like just sending loads of bits and pieces out, getting signed up to different labels and stuff. And then, just rolling on from there, and just loved it, mate. Loved every second of it, really.
That's good. Yeah. So you say so was lockdown then, like for you in that sense, was kind of a positive, because like there was two ways to approach it, wasn't it? Like a lot of people, like myself included to an extent, sat there and ate a whole lot of biscuits. You could kind of end up.
Oh, exactly. You don't. It wasn't the last thing but I've made time for like what I think I had about 10, 11 weeks off work, fully paid as well. So I was like I had no worries. Like don't get me wrong, a lot of people are affected badly, and I feel bad for the people that got didn't treat lockdown as well as it could have been. But I saw it as a positive thing for my situation. I used to like exercise, play with the kids, and then on the evenings I'd be like, right, studio time, I'm gonna make some music, and that's kind of what I did. And that was like the whole process for about 9-10 weeks, and just came up with loads of music, and then just dished it out, and then that's where it went, man. It was crazy, really.
Good on you, man.
Wicked. Yeah, it was wicked, mate.
Way to turn a negative into a positive, eh?
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. That's what we did. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And so from the outset then with that, I mean, obviously you said, because you'd kind of gone through making some house, making some jungle.
Yeah.
And then when you kind of approached, when you went, right, I'm going to make some garage, you'd always kind of wanted to know that two-step sound. Was the sound that you've ended up making, was that your goal from the outset? Right?
Yeah.
Kind of hit that kind of bass heavy two-step vibe. And
that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted like shuffly two-steppy beats, real subby basses, like vocally chopped, synth chops, just kind of simplicity, like simple two-step garage, but had some soul to it, like with some like R&B influences and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is what the 90s garage used to be, wasn't it? It was a lot of R&B influence.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, managed to definitely nail the sound that I wanted to nail, which is good. And I've kind of ventured into a little bit of like bumpy 4/4, but I want to kind of do the old stuff, old 4/4, not like speed garage stuff, which I have done a few bits of speed garage, but I want the shuffly, bumpy 4/4 still to be there and live on. Do you know what I mean?
I'm glad you mentioned it. I was going to, that was something I wanted to kind of prompt you on, because I noticed obviously like for, when I think BWK, I always think two-step, because that first couple of years at least, like you were very much focused on that. But I've noticed in sort of recent times, you kind of gone down that kind of that bumpy kind of 4/4 route. And
it's kind of just experimenting really, and just trying out different sounds, because obviously two-step is two-step, and like I've done quite a lot of songs now, like two-step tracks, and I feel like I didn't want to keep not repeating it, but like just trying some different flavours and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I feel like I've got a mix now. I can drop a bumpy one, or I can drop a two-step one. Like I've kind of got that market kind of. I've got them both going. You know what I mean? Do
you know what I like about the way you've done it as well? Is that excuse me, like I can definitely hear what you're saying in the sense of like that kind of vintage 4/4 bumpy set.
Yeah.
And it's a far cry from your two-step, and yet you've still kind of carried across some of your production tells, so it still sounds very BWK. It's not like you've completely switched it up and gone like an altogether different route. You can still hear oh, that's wicked. Oh, it's 4/4. Oh, but you can still tell it's you.
Yeah.
So you've got that kind of character thread going through your tunes, and I think that's a testament, obviously, to what you're doing, man.
No, I appreciate that, Rob. But it's kind of like, I suppose it's just following the processes. Like I follow the same kind of process when I'm producing, and then I suppose that maybe that reflects on what I do in what you're saying. Like you're hearing similarities in both two-step and the 4/4. Like, it's good to see.
So it makes sense. We'll come back to your process in a bit. Actually, I was going to ask you to sum up your sound, but I kind of feel like you've already done that. Like when you started to
yeah.
I will ask you though. Then, so obviously, like you talked about, like the late 90s, early 90s kind of thing. Key influences. Who are your key influences, like inside and outside UKG, if there are any that kind of spring to mind?
Yeah, so like, I suppose the two-step ones really are going to be like MJ Cole, Steve Gurley, massive influence. I love Steve Gurley's sound. Like that is a proper two-steppy kind of vibe sound. Like his dub tracks that he used to do.
Yeah.
All them ones they're like really hard. I love them. I love them tracks. Got Jeremy Sylvester, all his Club Asylum stuff. Chris Lorenzo. I know this is a random one. Chris Lorenzo. Obviously, he's nothing to do with garage, but many years ago, I spent some time in the studio with Chris, working on some housey bits, and kind of followed and took inspiration from his production. Just the way he made stuff, it was just mind-boggling how he used to do what he used to do on the software we had, which I'll come on to when you're talking about the software I use. I use the software that Chris used to use. I don't know what he uses now, but just massive influence on wanting to make music as well. Like seeing how he could easily put things together was like, man, I need to learn how to be that good. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd ever be as good as Chris Lorenzo, but like, like just the way he used to just snap everything together, it was like crazy, man. Other influences, Mode was a big influence as well. Scott Diaz, a mod influence. I love his productions. I love the way he knows tracks. So I got a shout Scott out on that one. I suppose Chris and Cookie, who I used to make house music with, they've been a big influence on me. Obviously, we made music together for years. I've actually been doing some house music with Nico again, so nice. I have to watch out for that later in the year. There should be something. I'm not sure where we're going with that yet, but I've been doing a little bit again with Nico. So yeah, and like I suppose family and friends really, just like kind of. I've been into like music, DJing, blah blah blah, and they're like kind of pushing you to no, go for it, Matt. Just go and do what you got to do, and yeah. So I've got to shout them as well. They're big influences. Do you know what? Everything that's made the sounds that I'll be able to make now? Yeah, yeah.
And it's important to have that support network around you, isn't it? You know, if you haven't got pushing you in the right direction, it's easy to kind of lose sight of why you're doing it.
100%.
I mean, in terms of like because you mentioned obviously the two-step and the R&B influences in the two-step. Like, is that something that you kind of consciously were aware of as well? The R&B side of things back in the late.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. So like R&B, you know, all them like them synth sounds, the vocals especially, they're playing a massive part in garage, haven't they? Just the way that people can manipulate them and make them into something brand new. I love that. That's what I love about making music.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm like a classically trained musician or anything. I just love creating from the old and taking things here and there and like slapping it all together and kind of creating a new sound. You know what I mean?
See what you can come up with. That's what it's. I think that's kind of like the underlying. It's almost like the mantra of garage, isn't it? And I think there's R&B influences as well. Like certainly from my perspective, I don't know if you'd agree with this. Like you obviously had a lot of that kind of vintage bumpy 4/4 stuff, and then the whole speed garage thing kicked off. I'm talking like sort of mid to late 90s here.
Yeah.
I think what really kind of separated UK garage from kind of the US garage was the fact that you had people like Dem2 and Grant Nelson who were kind of interpolating those R&B elements and kind of looking at Timbaland and Darkchild and kind of bringing in those skips and like
that's it.
That was kind of what set it apart. So
definitely. Definitely. They took influence from the US in that sense. But yeah, someone like Timbaland as well, master at doing that kind of vibes. And they like crazy. Yeah,
I'd love to hear like a Timbaland traditional two-step track from back in.
Oh my god!
Did you know? I'm going off on a complete tangent here, but I read the other day. I was doing that thing you do where you go on Wikipedia and you go down a rabbit hole. There was Destiny's Child track. I've got a feeling it was. I've got to say my name in my head. Yeah. You know how like it's that Darkchild production. When you listen to it, it's almost like a half-speed garage track.
Yeah.
And I never realised at the time until years later, but there was an interview that came out with Darkchild, and he did the production for that track around the time that he spent a bit of time in London, and he was at a club in London, and it was a garage night, and Say My Name by Destiny's Child was supposed to be a two-step track. Darkchild wanted it to be a two-step track. So like the original demos of it's a two-step track, but obviously the label was just like, now we want an R&B track.
I'd love to hear them original two-steps. I would love to hear them. I bet you they're class. Yeah. I can hear that. I never knew that.
You're DJ.
Something new over that.
Come and shout us. Send us the original demo. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
So we mentioned, obviously, I appreciate you giving us like your influences. You mentioned earlier about your process and software and how you use and what Lorenzo used to use. Tell us a little bit about that and how you approach making a track. And is it like formulaic? I know some producers go, right, I'm going to start with a drum loop and build it from there.
Yeah.
People start the chords. How do you normally approach a track?
Yeah, so I use Reason, Propeller's Reason. I always have done. Ever since my mate gave me that crack copy 20 years ago, whatever it was, I've stuck with Reason the whole way. I've tried Ableton, I've tried Logic. Nothing against them softwares, but I always felt more comfortable with Reason. I've loved the layout, the simplicity of it as well. So yeah, in terms of my productions, I would say my style is kind of not like hip hop style, but I suppose it is in the sense that I do a lot of sampling and resampling and stuff like that. I obviously use like Serum and stuff like that for basses and whatever, and like Simpson stuff, but I do like to take samples from other places and then like process them in Reason and just change them about and then make them into something new, even if it's just like a little small stab or something like that. I feel like as well doing that you get that kind of old school flavour, if you know what I'm saying. And then I like to use a lot of vinyl sounds in my productions as well to give it that kind of, not like, I don't want it crystal clear. I want it a little bit rugged, a little bit rough. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I was to make a track now, say if I was going to go in the studio now and make a track, I would start with the drums. I always do. I always start with the drums. And then I would probably take some synths, add some bass in. I would probably use the vocals. That would be my last process normally. And then because I don't want to always base the track around the vocals. I want the vibe to be the vibe, and then the vocals fit the vibe. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Yes, that's kind of my process. That's kind of the process I follow when I'm making any track, and I like to think that it works. Do you know? And that's it.
Mate. Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you mentioned you've stuck with reason as well, and I think there's a lot of merit in that, because I know back in the day, one of the downsides actually to going to college like I did and studying music production was everybody was using different bits of software. Like you said about your mate gave you a crack copy of Reason, I had everything. Everyone was giving me different bits of software, and I was trying them all. And actually, I think there's a lot of merit in, rather than trying everything, just kind of going, do you know what? Reason works for me. I like the layout, like you said. I like the simplicity. Yeah, sticking with it and learning that like the back of your hand. And obviously, you've shown time and again that you know that software well enough that you can do exactly what you need to do in your tracks.
Yeah, I think as well now, Rob, technology's moved so forward now that a lot of these softwares they're just the doors, aren't they? They're like a platform so you can lay in what you want to lay in. So I thought, well, why do I need to go to? Because I did actually try Logic more than I did Ableton. I had Logic for used to do like a 90-day trial, didn't they?
Yeah, did,
so I had it for like 90 days, tried making some music, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm finding this really difficult, and I'm doing kind of the same thing that I do in Reason, like bringing in plugins, external stuff, everything. I'm like, why am I doing this? Why don't I just stick with what I've got?
Stick with what I've got, yeah.
I could do exactly what I need to do in Reason that I could do in Logic. And just stuck with it. And like you say, you learn more. You're always learning something new every day, I think, when you're in music production. You're always finding a new trick. You're always finding a new way of putting something in, new way of manipulating sounds. It's just,
That's part of the magic of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, man. That's it, yeah. So Reason will always be the one I'll use. I don't know anyone else that uses Reason in Garage, I don't think. I don't know anyone.
I know Riplash and Sus used to, Juicy Joints.
Yeah.
They used to. I mean, they're a lot less active than they were. I went through a phase of using Reason at one point. When I first started putting out those Robbie T tracks back in 04, 05, they were mostly Reason productions. But I think, because what version of Reason are you using now? Are you on the current one? Or?
I'm on, I think they're on 13 now. I'm on 12, I am.
Because one and two, I don't know if you would agree with this, or if you remember that far back when it was like Reason 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
it had a really distinctive Reason sound, didn't it? You could spot the Reason production, whereas these days I don't think you can. I think
you can't.
They've ironed out the audio engine, like you said. It's more of a these days. I think you pick up any of the doors, and they're like, as you said perfectly. It's like a platform. Like you can do the same thing in all of them. But back then there was definitely like a very much you could spot what software someone was using.
This is what I think. Back in the day when I think the first copy I had was Reason, I think it was 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to nail, listening to say Garage or Jungle or whatever, and then trying to make a tune in Reason that sounded like something that was out in the clubs and that. It was like, there's something here that doesn't sound correct. Now, I don't know whether that's just not knowing the software or, like you say, I think there was something maybe that was holding back in Reason. But I think, didn't the Black Eyed Peas use Reason? I'm pretty sure they did.
Might have done, did they?
I think they did, Yeah, I think Black
really.
Eyed Peas used them. So, I mean, they obviously did quite well, didn't they?
But then
in the 2000s now.
When you jump into the depth of talking about someone like the Black Eyed Peas, they're probably the basis if it was made in Reason, then exported as stems and mixed down in Pro Tools through a big and you can add a little warmth and colour to it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. I guess a good example would be like the bassline scene, really, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Listen to
a lot of people in the bassline scene used to. Yeah.
Paleface and Flute stuff, that was all like Reason, and they were all using the same patches. And it was almost like at that time you would have had the reverse problem if you were trying to make bassline but you weren't using Reason. Your sounded a bit outside the fold, didn't they?
It's true that is, I forgot about them guys. Yeah, TS7, TRC. I think I had a load of TRC presets back in the day. Do you remember them? Yeah. The reason
did the rounds,
the subtractor files, were they? Yeah, I do.
100%. Yeah, I definitely had that as well.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah. You mentioned obviously Serum for basses. Is there any other plugins that jump to mind that your go-tos that you use a lot of, or is it mostly stuff within Reason?
It's within Reason. I would use Serum. I use a plugin called Sausage Fattener. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Yeah, I use that a lot. I find that really boosts everything within the mix. Everything else really is just in Reason. So if you know, I'll use like the Reason reverbs. That's basically what I use. I use a lot of just the Reason stuff. And like you say, like when I'm finding samples, I'm bringing samples in and I'm manipulating them with like the plugins that are in Reason as well, just to giving them warmth and them different flavours and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd probably say Sausage Fattener is probably the biggest external plugin that I would use, as well as Serum. I've tried Massive. I didn't really get on with Massive that well. I think,
because Selector said the same thing to me last time, and I'd agree with that as well. Like, it was sounded a bit sort of thin.
I didn't like how Massive. It just sounds like it doesn't sound like there's nothing there. Yeah. Like if you was going to use Massive, I think you'd have to use. Say you're going to make a bass line, you'd probably need to use 2 or 3 layers to make a decent bass, wouldn't you? Like the high end, middle, top, whatever. Bottom, sorry. But with Serum, mate, it's just there, isn't it? Straight up.
Serum's incredible, isn't it? And it's so versatile. That's what strikes me.
Yeah.
I suppose it's the basis for the synthesis and the fact you can put those different waveforms in. It's so versatile. Yeah.
I just saw then I do use another plugin called Fundamental Bass. Don't know if you've ever heard of it. No. So if you've got a bass line, you drag this onto your bass and it just boosts everything, and you can manipulate like the top ends and stuff rather than doing it on the like on the mixer. You can do it in there, and I find that it gives it that real, especially the low ends, it gives it the real deep low end sounds. So yeah, Fundamental Bass, that's another good plugin as well that I use.
I'm gonna make it.
Try it, man. It's good. I think it's only it was only about 20 quid or something like that when I bought it years ago. Yeah, it wasn't a lot. So Fundamental Bass, good one. That's another good plugin as well.
It is mad. You said before, the sort of stock plugins within your DAW these days are so good that you almost, for the large part, unless you've got a specific need for something like that, you almost don't need to step outside the box, do you?
No, you don't.
I'm the same. I seldom use many kind of external plugins because I find that stock stuff works. It's working for you, and it obviously is for you because you're always making moves and churning out the tunes. Good on you, keep going, man. I was going to ask hardware as well. I see behind you, you've got a little controller there. What sort of hardware are you using?
That's like to make beats, to make drums. Use that for drums.
Drums
don't use it as much as I do, really. It's really old MPD 26 pad control units. You can manipulate in drums live. Sometimes when you say you're making like a bit, especially in garage, it can't be on the grid. It's got to be off the grid. That's what gives you that bump, doesn't it? It gives you that. If you're making everything square, then that's where you're just not getting the right sound down. That's what I've learned over the years. So then what I used to do is use this and then play it in manually. And then I could see where it would sit in the door. So then I know, it's slightly off the grid there. Then, to be fair, nowadays, I'm not going to lie, I don't really use it. I just draw it in and then I can move it myself. Do you know what I mean? I know kind of where things need to be, but yeah, it's a good little tool for learning, especially if you want to learn to make drums and stuff like that. I used to use it sometimes with vocal chops as well. Sometimes you can't get your vocal chops sitting right. Yeah. You play them in manually, and then you can.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's more that triplet to get that triplet sound. That off the grid kind of. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
So you've obviously got that, but is most of what you're doing otherwise sort of from within the box? I mean, obviously you're sampling them, so you're taking things into the box. I'm very much a hands-on keyboard. I draw a lot of things in. I don't necessarily.
like I said, I don't pretend to be a musician. Like, I'm not very. I can play piano slightly. My music knowledge is okay as well. You know, like learning keys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just like trial and error, really. I find that just playing with stuff, spending hours and hours and hours just messing about and learning your craft that way. That's how I've learned how to make music, just by getting stuck in and probably doing it the long way, probably doing it the wrong way, but it works for me. Do you know what I mean?
It's the right and wrong way, or you know, like if you're having fun, that's the main thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
That's it, man. That's what I enjoy doing. So yeah, if I can get a little bit out of it, that's all good for me. That's what I'm happy with.
Good on you, mate. Fair dude.
Yeah.
So, what are we now? We're 2024. In 2022, I've made.
Yeah.
You launched 9-2.
Yes.
And you've notched up. Particularly 23 was a significant number of releases throughout the year.
Yeah.
Started a really sort of strong reputation for the label. What was your vision when you set up 9-2? What did you set out to do?
Yeah. So it's a funny one, really. With 9-2, what I wanted to do was actually set up kind of a label for me, just so I could release on there. We'll go into why with the other labels later on, but yeah, I wanted a platform for myself to have full control over what I wanted to release, when I wanted to release, how I wanted to release, so I kind of set it up in that sense. But I then started, I got loads of promos, lots of dubs off people and stuff like that. And then I thought, you know what, I could actually try and make a success out of this, in the sense that people have given me music to listen to and see what they think. Maybe I should set this up as an actual label so I can have a platform for other people to release on. So that's kind of where 9-2 started. Last year was massive. I hit the ground running, really. I had loads of tracks and wanted to just get out there and release. Bit of a slower one this year. I haven't done as much this year. We've got a few things in the pipelines. We've got a remix EP lined up, which I'm very excited about. That's going to be really, really good. Some really good tracks on there. But yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. And it kind of grew from getting other people's music and thinking, yeah, we could release this and make this a thing and make it a label within the garage scene, which I feel like it has done. There's been some solid releases on the label, which I'm really proud of. Big up all the artists that have been on there as well. I've really enjoyed releasing everything on there with them, and hopefully it will continue. Probably not at the rate it did in 2023, because that was hard. It was a hard thing to do, but yeah, we're definitely pushing on. We're definitely looking for more, artists to come to us with tracks and just put out some garage music for everyone to hear. And that's the main goal, really, just to have an outlay for artists who not necessarily can't get onto these other labels and stuff. To just, come to us. We'll look after you. We'll put the tracks out for you. We'll treat you properly. That's kind of the motto, really. For 9-2.
That's good to hear, because I feel like I don't want to ruffle feathers, but I feel there's not enough labels that take that approach. Actually, it brings me nicely to my next question. It was an observation I've made, and I mentioned this in the last interview I did, which is that generally there's a tendency I've noticed within NUKG for artists. They tend to kind of work with a few labels as they're kind of establishing their name, and then after a little while they tend to sort of step back and sort of revert to self-releasing. Now, obviously you mentioned that initially when you were setting up 9-2, your goal was to have something in place where you could self-release stuff, and although you're very good at networking, I've noticed you still do work with a lot of different labels. Obviously there's more of a focus, isn't there, like for you to be able to have control, release things the way you want to. You mentioned obviously that was a kind of a conscious thing. I just wondered if there was sort of a specific driving force or reason behind that, if there was anything that prompted that, or was that just a natural progression? Or
I feel that in garage it's kind of a natural progression for artists to they kind of start off pushing out as much music as you can, getting onto all different places, because I feel that within garage, especially particularly nowadays, there's no kind of loyalty to one label. There is certain artists that do that, and I massively respect that. But I feel like people like to have different angles of different releases, so it's probably looks better on their catalogue, don't you? And then I feel that maybe people kind of, I don't know, not get bored of releasing on different labels, but then I think the way how do I put this right? So like technology nowadays, it's so easy to release. Like you've got so many different ways of doing it now. Like probably like 20 years ago, you had to go to a record label. You had to do that to get music out. Whereas now it's so easy to sign up to like a Hypedit account, release stuff on SoundCloud for free, gain traction from there, then earn off social medias and all that. And I feel like it's especially within garage, it's a natural progression. I don't know in other scenes if it's like that. I mean, I don't know, Rob, have you noticed that in anything else? Like people tend to just float about and then kind of go on their own, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's more of a, I don't know, purely, I'll definitely annoy some people saying it, but certainly from my perspective, it seems to be more apparent in garage than it is elsewhere. And I don't know, the impression I've kind of got, just through chatting to various people over the years, is that people maybe are mistreated by certain labels in garage. And
possibly, yeah.
I'll stop this. I'm just going to do this myself. I mean, like you said, it's never been easier, is it, to kind of do it yourself?
No,
you really can kind of go down that route, and that is an artistic decision to make. You end up with more control. You're not going to get dicked over by anybody if you don't sign away anything. But there's still pros, isn't there, to working with different labels, because, like you said, a lot of people will approach different labels, and every time you release with a different label, your tune goes out to a slightly different audience, to their sort of
of course,
I guess it's a trade-off, isn't it? But definitely, it's just something I wanted to ask, because I've noticed it's particularly apparent in garage where.
Yeah, it is. I've noticed it as well massively. I think Bandcamp as well is a massive part of UKG as well.
Yeah.
It's particularly like within the bootleg edits kind of things. That's where, if I have any bootlegs and edits, they all go on Bandcamp, because you have no problems with getting royalties, all that kind of business. You can kind of put what you like on Bandcamp, can't you?
You can, at the moment at least, yeah.
Yeah, well, at the moment, sort of abuse it while you can. But yeah, I think that's a good point as well, with like maybe you're saying certain artists don't feel treated the right way as they maybe want to be from certain record labels. But maybe that's just like, I don't know, maybe that's just a money thing as well, Rob. Like, there's not a lot of money to be made in garage. The scene isn't as monetary as it probably was back in the 90s, 2000s. There's not a lot of money floating around. So people probably think, well, you know what, I might as well do this myself and coin in everything that I've made, because I've put a lot of hard work into it. You can't argue with that, can you? Really?
No, for sure. I mean, even if you're approaching it from the perspective of it's not about the money is a nice little pat on the back, isn't it? Like, of course, it's like a quantifying statistic, isn't it? If you're making loads of money from a track, then that is hey, I've done something right here, I'll do more of this. It gives you a bit of an insight.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely, man. Definitely, I think that's correct. Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your insight on that. The next thing I wanted to ask you, so I mentioned it when I was introducing you, actually. You hold the prestigious honour of being, as far as I'm aware at least, the only artist that was invited to do a guest for DJ EZ's esteemed New Volve radio show. And I just wondered, A, how that came about, and B, what how it felt to get that kind of nod from the big man himself.
Oh, mate. I mean, it's a massive opportunity, really, to be able to have done that on EZ's show. The opportunity came around. So obviously, being a part of NUKG Records, like releasing a number of tracks on their label, I do get to speak to a lot of their management team a lot. And I was just speaking to one of the guys there, and I just mentioned, like, look, I've got loads of new music. I don't know if you're looking at guest slots or anything like that, but if you are, consider me in the future. Then a couple of weeks later, they were like, do you know what? Yeah, spoke to EZ. He'd love to have you on the show. And I was like, no way. That's unbelievable. I was like, fucking brilliant. Like, and then, it's just to be able to go on a show with someone that you've looked up to for as long as you can remember, and him give you the nod, and him accept you as I suppose not so much as an artist, but like from a DJing point of view as well. I mean, the man is probably arguably one of the best DJs in the world. By far, probably the best DJ in garage by a mile, really. I mean, I know there's a lot of new talent, and I know the scene has moved on massively since EZ was kind of involved in like any kind of productions or that kind of thing. But if anyone thinks of garage, you're going to think of EZ, aren't you? Like everyone does.
Certainly, yeah.
Everyone does, yeah. So to be on his show and be able to play my own music, my own way, just brilliant. Like icing on the cake, really. That's just top notch, really. Yeah.
Did you get much? Because obviously in Evolve Radio, there's a big platform. Like I can't off the top of my head think of stream numbers and that, but I know like when you look at like the stats. Yeah, people listen to that. I just wondered did you get a lot of sort of feedback via that or sort of
I had a lot of people messaging me about it, saying mainly asking about some of the tracks that were on there because I played a lot of stuff that was unreleased at the time and asking me when this was out, and said brilliant, and people I know as well personally was like they were really happy for me because I know my journey and where I've come and like they know how much this kind of means to me. So yeah, it was massive. It was really big. It was a really big achievement for me to be able to do that. Yeah, it's fascinating. It was really good. Yeah.
No, I'm happy for you. It's really good.
Yeah, really good.
I see. I mean, I saw your name popping up on sort of flyers and stuff before, but since then as well, I've been seeing your name pop up. A fair amount of events. In fact, there's one coming up. I made a note of it here, actually. You're on the inaugural lineup for Rewind UKG in Birmingham.
Oh, yes.
To see your hometown there, alongside Mike Roughcut Lloyd, PSG, B15 Project, and some proper legends there. I just wondered if can you give us some insight, tell people what they can expect if they come along and see you live, mate?
Yeah, man. So it's a brand new club night that's happening in Birmingham at Rainbow. It's a big place in Birmingham. It's nice to see an original garage night back in the city after a long time. Just solely garage. Got to shout Sean Patrick on that one because he's the guy putting it all together. So big up Sean. Mate. When I'm gonna be playing, I am gonna be playing new stuff. I mean, you've got Mike, Roughcut Lloyd, you've got B15, PSG. So there's going to be a lot of old school anthems playing, but I'm going to really try and come with the new stuff. And I don't particularly play a lot of old school garage now. Like I'm not. I love it. Obviously, it's where everything started. But if I'm going to DJ, I want to play new garage and stuff on my own, and maybe some like old classics, but like with a new edit kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of the vibes I'll be going for. New garage. Really looking forward to it, man. Really, it's going to be a great night, and hopefully it's a success and it takes off and we keep it moving. So yeah, Rewind Birmingham going to be great.
Fingers crossed, mate. That'd be lovely. If you're gonna go along and play, sort of with a focus on NUKG, and if it ends up doing well, there's another outlet for you, all your many productions, mate.
Yeah. I feel like, especially in Birmingham, there's a lot of. It seems to be a real old school flavour. Like everyone wants to come to some sort of garage thing in Birmingham. Everyone thinks old school garage, which I understand. I totally get it. There's not been much opportunity to move the new sound as much through like just a normal club night. I mean, you've got the big festivals and stuff, the big nights, and you get some like big like Sammy Virgin, all them guys doing their own shows in Birmingham, which obviously smashed it. But like to have an actual garage night with a number of different garage artists on it, just playing solely new garage, that's a good look, I think, for Birmingham. So
it's wicked. And it makes sense as well, because I think, like when I'm thinking of sort of cities and towns around the country that are really kind of repping the new garage sound, Birmingham's one of the first that spring to mind. I mean, obviously, you initially, a lot of people probably think of Bristol because you've got, some locals and camps coming out of Bristol. London was all, originally seen as the home of it, wasn't it? But really, when I look at it, I go, well, Birmingham, you've got quite a number of artists based in Birmingham and around Birmingham, around the Midlands area, that are really doing some exceptional stuff at the moment. So it's good to see you guys having like your own little thing there and see it,
hopefully. Yeah, hopefully, mate. Hopefully we can create something and bring it back, or bring the sound kind of back anyway. Jeremy was from Birmingham originally, wasn't he? Sylvester. So yeah, I'm not sure if he's based there anymore, but yeah, there's loads of stuff going up in artists and stuff like Richard Roy, Wayward, DJ Trips, myself. all Birmingham lads. So yeah, I mean, there's a few more I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, it's good to have that sound back here in Birmingham again. Yeah,
No,
definitely. Yeah.
You listed off some artists there. I was going to ask you which artists. I was going to say if any, but I'm assuming there will be. Which artists in you are exciting you at the minute?
Yeah, I mean, you've got all like the big, like the Virgins and all that. They're absolutely popping. People that are, so I like I mentioned Richard Wright, DJ Trips, Wayward, Adam Tronic. I love Adam Tronic's productions. Who else is there? PJ Bridger, big producer, I love his sounds. Bullet Tooth, always coming with that flavour as well. Matic, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Real good artist. I really like his sound at the moment. Tough Tracks, I think he's from Australia.
I didn't know that.
I think he's Australian. Yeah. There's another Birmingham artist, actually. I've just got off the top of my head. Guy's called Click. Got some real good sounds coming out. Not sure where he's from, Birmingham. I've never actually spoke to him, but I've just seen a few bits of his. He's got some real bumpy bits, man. Like more the 4/4 kind of stuff. But yeah, real nice sounds. There's loads. There's so many new artists coming through. The scene's popping, isn't it? It's just there's loads of people.
It's lovely to be able to ask a question like that, and actually you be spoilt for choice with names that you be able to.
Yeah.
I feel like I could let you talk, and you'd keep listing off names, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's a real good spot for lack of a better word to be in, really.
Yeah.
And it's interesting as well. You mentioned this sort of bumpy 4/4 thing that I don't know if you would have. Definitely, I've made the observation that. And I said it on the last podcast I recorded with Brains. The scene is almost like it almost feels a little bit fragmented or fractured. And I don't mean it in a negative way. I mean it in the sense of it's almost how you kind of had jungle and then it vanished a bit and then it came back as drum and bass and then you kind of had the they were calling it intelligent drum and bass, which became liquid. Then you had jumper. Garage has kind of gone a similar way because you've got like those people that are kind of doing the bumpy 4/4 and then you've got real gritty two-step. There's always been that like little niche hardcore speed garage lot. Then you've got garage house. It's a wicked place thing to be in.
Yeah, there's loads of different styles.
I mean, where do you see the scene? Maybe in the next 12 months, do you see the scene going in a certain direction or a certain sound that you think will be popping off? Or
I really think this speed garage thing's coming back, isn't it? And I think like the organ speed garage, like almost like the baseline house scene that was in Birmingham. I feel like we're going kind of down that route with garage now. I feel like people are really discovering the M1 organ and adding that to like the old niche sound from Sheffield.
Yeah,
I feel like them sounds are. I feel like that's where we're kind of going, but I hope the original two steps and the original bumpies don't get lost in all that. I feel there's still a place for all of that, but I feel like this organ speed garage sound is really getting highlighted at the moment, especially in the summer months when we've got the festivals and we've got all the big club nights coming to the end of the year as well. People just want to make music that just pops off, don't they?
Yeah.
That's what they want. So I feel like that's kind of where we're going with it. Which is not necessarily a negative thing. It's just, I don't know whether that's the true origins of UKG for me, but like any genre, it kind of develops, doesn't it? And I suppose you'd have the original jungle heads that would hate all this like Euro, D&B, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you've got all that kind of thing.
You can't keep everyone happy ultimately.
No, you can't.
When it comes to art and music and that. I mean, it's interesting, because you mentioned like the M1, the organ house thing kind of kicking off. And it's true, actually. I hadn't kind of consciously twigged until you just said that. But I've been sent a few bits recently that were kind of on that kind of organ kind of stuff.
That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think these days with garage, I think it's kind of, I don't even know if it's specific to garage or if it's just music on the whole. I think, when you look at how garage evolved organically in the mid to late 90s, that was all a very natural progression, wasn't it? And of
course it was.
There was a lot of money, there was a lot of vinyl sales and a lot of big club nights. There was a lot of kind of outlets and avenues where people could kind of be creative and do their own thing and make kind of dream it quite nicely. And fair play to them, because born of that was some amazing sounds. Whereas I feel these days, we tend to kind of, and it's been this way now for 15, 16 odd years at least, we tend to go through these little fads, don't we, where something blows up a bit And there's almost a tendency, and I'm not criticising anyone for doing it, because I've definitely been guilty of it myself, but everyone seems to sort of almost follow like sheep. Oh, that's the in thing, right? If that's what
we'll do that,
I want to do that. And I feel like almost like the identity of garage has kind of been lost to an extent in that.
Yeah.
It's nice to hear you say, it's nice to hear you sort of say, oh, I hope I get the impression talking to you, even though like you might do a bit of bumpy 4/4, even though you might be watching what's going on with Speed Garage, I get the impression you're always going to kind of stay true to what you wanted.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, I think, I want to make what I want to make. If I like it, that's what I want to make. And I'll always stick with kind of the two-steppers, because that's just what I love to make. That's what I love to create. Can't always follow things, but at the same time, if you don't you're not conscious of them trends, you get left behind. And so it's a tough one to follow, really. It's a fine balance. Yeah, it is a fine balance.
What really do you think? Have you got any sort of strong views on the? What I've been observing is a lot of the stuff which has been gaining traction more recently is kind of the more minimal and gritty, bass-heavy two-step stuff.
Yeah, like the bullet two-step.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you're very keen on the two-step, and it's interesting you mentioned Steve Gurley as an influence, because definitely, like, if I was going to put you in a category with other producers that sounded similar, Steve Gurley is like the first person that springs to mind.
Yeah.
And that sound is obviously very dance floor, club orientated, bass heavy two-step.
Yeah.
This new kind of wave of kind of gritty, raspy synths.
Yeah.
It's almost like future garagey, dubstep tech twinge.
Yeah.
Garage is quite different. And I just wondered if you have any sort of do you hear those Bullet Tooth and EFAN productions go, oh, it's wicked, or is that maybe like not quite your cuppa, or do you know what I mean?
Some of the tracks are brilliant. They're very, they're really well produced. You can hear that. You can hear the productions are absolutely spot on. But some of them are a little bit too far for me. They go a little, like you say, they dip into like the dubstep kind of thing. No disrespect for dubstep, it's just not was never really my cup of tea. So I can hear that. Them kind of influences. Also as well, kind of like the old bassline thing influences as well. Them old, like we talked about earlier, like the TRT, TS7, like bass sounds. I feel like a lot of people have been using them as well, kind of thing. But some of it, not all of it, if you know what I mean. Like, it's not all my cup of tea, but I don't mind some of it. Some of the stuff that's a little bit more subtle, I can roll with that.
Yeah. What would be really nice, I think. I don't know if you see. I know you're a fan of EZ. Did you used to listen? Because obviously you presumably couldn't get the EZ's Kiss show in Birmingham.
Sometimes we did, yes. We could get little bits of it. Yeah. He used to play a lot of the bassline stuff as well, didn't he?
He did. He was always really good. I mean, he took a lot of criticism, like back in the day when I think back to like the Uptown Forum days, and like it was a cesspit on there, but like take a bashing on there for his selections. But I always had the utmost respect for the fact he would dip into every little niche corner of garage, and he'd play a bit of bass on, and he went through a phase of playing like the really techie stuff, and then he was playing housey bits as well. And I almost feel like, I don't know if you would agree with this, garage is almost missing a kind of a pivotal DJ who will like properly rep all of those different corners of garage these days. It tends to be that somebody I mentioned obviously with it being fragmented before, and like you've got like this kind of bass sound thing, and you've got bass people seem to sort of, I don't know if it's like a conscious thing, but they seem to have a sort of preferred sound and almost stick to it. It's a shame EZ kind of going, right, I'm going to play like the breadth of garage and play a little bit of everything, because it would be, I would love to go to a club night where I hear like a little bit of EFAN, followed by like something by Mike Milrain, followed by a BWK, and just hear it doesn't generally seem to happen these days.
Well, hopefully what we've got going on in Birmingham and Rewind, that we can kind of bring that sound. Well, you'll have the old school, but you'll have some new school, different sounds, different flavours. With the EZ thing, I mean, to be fair to EZ, if he was on Kiss back in the day, he had to play a certain market, didn't he? And he was on a national radio show. He couldn't probably just play the hard stuff. He had to play everything, and he's always been good at everything, hasn't he, EZ?
It's mad.
Like what he was doing on his Evolve radio shows as well. Like, he played everything.
Sorry to cut you off. The number of sheer number of promos the guy must have been as well to be able to cut through all of that and pick out all of those,
Oh god, massive
stuff does get missed in that, but like I always felt like he did a good job for all the negativity that he got. But yeah, mate, I don't know. Just it strikes me, you were talking earlier about the creativity in garage and all the different angles and that, and I kind of that's one of my big bugbears with garage at the minute is this sort of tendency for sort of certain camps, certain groups, certain DJs to move in one particular direction, almost like they're going right. This is the new way forward, and actually, I think like what you just said about having like a club night, I think everyone should head down to Birmingham for your club night, because I think a good approach to it would be like, let's try a little bit of everything, see keep everyone happy.
That's it. Yeah,
it's beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You've got to try it out and see what happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't do an interview without me asking you this one pivotal question, which I always ask everyone, and that is, and we've got no on the fence answers here, mate. So you can't list off 2 or 3 tracks or go. I was going to say, right, you have to pick one track. If you could pick one favourite UK garage track of all time, one track, what would it be?
Right. Do you know what? I have got 2 in mind, but as you said, one. Say one. And it would have to be Wookiee Battle. That is, for me, that is okay. Wookiee Battle. Yeah, mate. I haven't even talked about Wookiee as well as an influence. Wookiee, what a producer. He had that thing as well. He had that rawness about his productions, and I think Wookiee Battle for me is just it's got everything. It's got the skippy 2 beats. It's got like that real hard hitting bass, but then it's got like the vocals and then like all them lovely synths that he's sing. Oh man, it's just big track.
Do you know, it makes a lot of sense. Having heard everything you said today and like all your responses to the questions, actually, it fits that a track would work on so many levels for you.
Wookiee Battle, mate, was up there. Yeah.
Do you know what's crazy? I don't know if you've ever seen there was an interview with Wookiee that was taken from the behind the scene DVD that Agent X and Rip Bash and Sus put together. Don't know if you've ever seen that. They're asking Wookiee about the first album, and I was gobsmacked when I watched it, because like he just kind of blasé said, I didn't really like that album. I wasn't very pleased with it. Like he had a really strict deadline for it and like put most of it together within a 2-week time span, and said that he felt rushed and he wasn't pleased with it. And I'm like, fucking hell, like if I sit here and I go through all of my albums, like in terms of consistent high level tunes, that's one of the ones. Certainly garage terms,
Yeah, it's up there, man. It's up there. As if he said that. I've never seen that. I'll have to try and watch it. Is that available to watch?
Do you know what? I sold. I actually, funnily enough, funny you should mention that, because I sold my copy recently. I was having to click because I moved house. Yeah. It's quite hard to come by. But I do have the videos from it ripped onto my hard drive, so maybe I'll hook you up. Someone
that's
YouTube, and I was like, I don't want to annoy anyone. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to annoy Agent X or Rip Bash and Sus, because I've got my DVD still sat there. But it's worth a watch if you can track it down. Let me know and I'll ping you over a link.
Definitely. I'll have to have a look at that.
Right, quick fire round, mate, because you're not getting on without a quick fire round. So
go on then.
For a load of questions, these are more to let everybody get to know the man behind BWK Project a little bit better. And don't worry, there's nothing too mean in there, I don't think.
That's right.
I've written down some notes. Like, here we go. All right. Life goals, mate. You got any life goals?
Be content and happy.
That's a solid answer, yeah.
And healthy and happy. That's all that matters, really, in everything.
Good on you, mate.
Yeah.
Dudes. Analog or digital?
Well, it'd have to be digital, because that's what I've always been on. I've always been digital, yeah, digital.
I feel like it's less of a question these days as well than it used to be.
Kind of is, yeah.
The doors are as well.
Yeah. I'd like to be analog, but I'm just going to be honest, it's digital today.
Yeah. I've got money to get into the analog side of things.
Oh, mate.
Don't even bear thinking about. Favourite film, mate?
Ooh. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
No. Oh.
I love that film.
You say that, but good shout.
I love that film. Love it.
And it's funny you should mention that, because my next question was, have you got any pets?
I haven't got any pets. My daughter's got a hamster.
Classic.
She's got a hamster called Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Why not, eh? Why not?
Why not?
I asked Selector this one last time and he looked at me a bit blank. I don't know if you're going to give me the same look.
Go on.
Mental. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Plenty.
I was trying to get it. See, I sent a selector a message after the last one. I was like, nah, man, like, if you're a Monkey Island fan, a woodchuck would chuck no amount of wood since a woodchuck can't chuck wood.
Oh, no, no,
Never
I
played
don't.
Monkey Island. Go over your head, I guess.
I don't.
Classic, would you rather be able to? Would you rather be able to talk to animals or speak in any language?
Ooh. Speaking any language, I think that'd be epic.
That'd be useful.
Be able to speak, yeah, very useful.
Imagine you could get booked to play anywhere in the world, get off the plane and just be kosher. You'd be sailing.
Fluent in like Japanese or something. The outrageous. Yeah, definitely the language one. I think the language one for me.
Okay. Next one. Oh, this is a bit gloomy. I'll apologise in advance. So,
now go on.
Right. Bear with me here, because the question's at the end. I go off on one here. If Green Congo hemorrhagic fever continues, I don't know if you've heard about what's been going on there.
What's that?
Spread.
I have no idea.
Basically, this killer virus that's kind of emerged in the Congo that, like, they're now going, oh, is this the next lockdown kind of thing? Yeah.
Oh, fuck off.
So that continues to spread and death looks to be inevitable. What will you spend your last days on Earth doing?
Well, I'd spend it with my family, obviously. I would probably spend making some music or something. That's probably what I would do with my family. That's what.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like when you've got a family, you almost have to say that, don't you?
Yeah.
You know you're in trouble with the missus.
Yeah, no, it would be. You'd be with your family.
Yeah.
And your kids. But I'd also be making music on the side, just making a little two-step track or something, you know.
Laptop on your lap with the kids film next to you, that works.
That works, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, mate, it's been great in chatting to you. Always great chatting to you. Great getting your insight on things. Really appreciate your time.
Yes, right.
Before we sign off, I mean, obviously you've mentioned the club night, but by all means plug it again because it sounds epic. I just wondered if you've got any big projects, anything at all that you'd like us to keep our eyes peeled for, any shout outs you want to do, all that kind of business.
Yeah, so I'd like to shout out all the Birmingham lot, DJ Trips, Wayward Beats, Richard Wright, all the 9-2 family as well. We've got a massive remix EP coming out later in the year, so keep an eye out for that one. Playing down at Rewind in Birmingham. Big up Sean Patrick on that one. Big lineup. It's going to be great. I'm sitting on a few little bits and pieces at the moment. Hopefully I have some exciting news about a couple of bits, so keep an eye out for that one. Can't say too much yet. But yeah, well, I'm just keeping it garage, man. Keeping it rolling. Socials at BWK Project. Check them out. Yeah. Thanks for having me on, Rob. Really appreciate it.
I appreciate your time, mate. It's always a pleasure to chat to you, and I appreciate your insight. We've had a good little natter here, giving me some food for thought as well.
Yeah,
good, mate. And everybody head over to at BWK Project and all the socials. Let's keep it popping.
Yes, Rob. Big up
stuff, mate.
Wicked, mate. Nice one.
Thanks, mate.